Hello and welcome to the show. I am Joe Tophat. I hold here in my hand a copy of a letter Harriet Glickman, a school teacher, wrote to Charles Schulz back in 1968. If you wish to read Mrs. Glickman's letter, pause the video right here. But the gist of it is that she felt that Schulz should introduce black characters to Peanuts. Schulz wrote back saying that he had indeed thought about it before, but was concerned about coming off as patronizing. Glickman then got Kenneth C. Kelly, a black friend, to write to Schulz. He said, an accusation of patronizing would be a small price to pay for the positive results that would occur. With this assurance, Schulz decided to follow Mrs. Glickman's advice. So on July 31st, 1968, the world got its first introduction to Franklin. Is this your beach ball? Hey, yeah, thank you very much. I was swimming out there and it came floating by. My silly sister threw it into the water. I see you're making a sandcastle. It looks kind of crooked. I guess maybe it is. Where I come from, I'm not famous for doing things right. Let me be clear about one thing. Franklin was by no means the first black character to be shown in comics. It's just that for years, most black characters were drawn to look like a blackface stereotype from a minstrel show. One of the few exceptions to this was in the Little Orphan Andy Sunday strip from August 2nd, 1942. Here, a kid named George asks Andy if he can join the Junior Commandos. Not only does Andy assure him that he can, she makes George a sergeant for helping the group find a large pile of scrap iron. The strip drew praise and criticism from both black and white communities. What Little Orphan Andy and Peanuts have in common is that they both show the main characters being colorblind. Andy is just recruiting another kid for the Junior Commandos, and Charlie Brown is just playing with another kid at the beach. The only difference is that Franklin would appear in a second strip. Is your whole family here at the beach, Franklin? No, my dad's over in Vietnam. My dad's a barber. He was in the war too, but I don't know which one. Do you like baseball, Charlie Brown? My problem is, I like baseball too much. Are you a good player? I have some friends who would regard that as a great topic for a panel discussion. And what a discussion that would be. What I find interesting about this strip is that Franklin mentioned his dad was in Vietnam. By 1968, many people have turned against the Vietnam War, and many were hostile towards anyone who fought in it. The casual comment adds a little realism to a strip that shows a dog believing he's a World War I flying ace. I also find Charlie Brown's comment interesting. He doesn't know what war his dad fought in. Is he possibly talking about the Korean War? The war that's often overshadowed by World War II and Vietnam? Anyway, reaction to Franklin's inclusion went pretty much the way you might expect it. Many saw it as a victory for the civil rights movement, while others, mostly in the South, complained about the fact that Franklin sat in front of Peppermint Patty at a school. Schulz had several newspapers threaten to drop Peanuts, but thankfully he held firm, and as far as I know, none of them followed through with their threat. There were other controversies with Franklin, but I'll get to that later. When Franklin first showed up to Charlie Brown's neighborhood, he discovers how strange it is. Lucy running a psychiatry booth instead of a lemonade stand. Snoopy pretending to be a World War I flying ace. Linus's unorthodox belief in the Great Pumpkin, and Schroeder's fanboy obsession for Beethoven. This storyline would establish Franklin's personality. He's normal. Unlike the other kids, Franklin doesn't have any bizarre traits, like calling a girl sir, believing in the Great Pumpkin, obsessing over Beethoven, or running a psychiatry booth. He's just a regular kid. Like Marcy, Franklin does well in school, and he's also a good athlete like Peppermint Patty. This is probably why he hangs out with them. In the miniseries This Is America, Charlie Brown, the NASA space station, Franklin was given the job of observing how the others were getting along. His assessment isn't pretty. This just shows that Franklin doesn't really have any character flaws that stand out. This has caused some people to criticize him. During a Saturday Night Live routine in 1992, Chris Rock pointed out that everyone has their fame except Franklin. He jokingly suggested that Schultz should give him a Jamaican accent, which I find ironic since Harold Gray was criticized for giving George an accent. Kevin Wong, in his disparagingly titled article, Franklin Broke Peanut's Color Barrier in the Least Interesting Way Possible, echoed Rock's sentiment. While he did praise Schultz for including him, Wong felt that Franklin was ultimately a bland character. He basically said that all Schultz did was made him a good student, a good athlete, and in the specials and movies, a good dancer, without actually giving him any depth. You know, Shummy didn't have any depth to his character either. At least Franklin had talents we can point to. Mrs. Glickman was recently asked if she was disappointed with how Franklin turned out. She replied, "Never. Are you kidding me? I was so pleased with Charles Schultz. He did what he could do at the time." During an interview with Michael Barrier in 1988, Schultz said, "I've never done much with Franklin because I don't do race things. I'm not an expert on race. I don't know what it's like to grow up as a little black boy. And I don't think you should draw things unless you really understand them." Franklin's race was only brought up twice in the strip. First in 1974, "Alright, Franklin, what do you think you're doing? Playing hockey. What does it look like?" "It looks like you're in my way, that's what. I'm practicing for a figure skating competition." "What about me? I'm practicing to become a great hockey player." How many black players in the NHL, Franklin? This strip caused some people to accuse Schultz of being racist or insensitive. He sent this rather angry response to a fan who brought up the issue. Just pause it right here if you wish to read it for yourself. The second was in 1993. Martin Luther King said, "I have a dream. Before that, we wouldn't be sitting here. And I wouldn't be trading you a carrot stick for a French fry. That's not an even trade, Franklin." Trying to do some damage control, huh, Peppermint Patty? Franklin made his animation debut in Snoopy Come Home, where he appeared at Snoopy's farewell party. He would go on to play bigger roles in Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown, and the Peanuts movie. His most memorable roles in the specials were A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, It's Magic Charlie Brown, where he was Snoopy's first volunteer, It's Flash Beagle Charlie Brown, where he hanged out with Snoopy at the dance club, It's Spring Training Charlie Brown, where he performed a rap song, his appearances in This Is America Charlie Brown, and in You're in the Super Bowl Charlie Brown. It was in this special that Franklin was given the last name Armstrong, after Jumpstart creator Rob Armstrong. Why didn't they use that in the Peanuts movie? That would have been a great reference. I want to dispel a myth people have about Franklin. They say he was the only black character ever featured in Peanuts. While it is true he was the only main black character, there was a minor character named Milo, who was part of the Goose Eggs, a baseball team Charlie Brown coached. For those of you who criticize Schultz for how he portrayed Franklin, just remember that simply including Franklin caused some controversy, and he could have made the same mistake Hank Ketchum did in Dennis the Menace. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google Dennis the Menace Jackson. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments section if there are any Peanuts characters you wish me to talk about, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later.